Hey there, young explorers! Get ready for a whirlwind adventure as we play the most exciting game on the planet. Guess the country. We've gathered flags from all 197 countries, each one waving proudly with secrets to share. In each flag slide, we've hidden 2 sneaky clues about the flag itself and 1 super clue about the amazing country it represents. It's like a treasure hunt on a global scale, and you're the treasure hunters. This isn't just any game. It's your passport to becoming a flag master and a geography whiz, all while having a blast. We've neatly sorted these flags in alphabetical order by their country names, making it easy peasy for you to follow along. And guess what? We've divided all these flags into parts because we have so many incredible countries to explore. Make sure to watch all our videos to become a flag genius and learn all the special secrets of each country. Let's embark on this fun-filled journey together, and remember, every flag tells a story, and every country holds wonders waiting to be discovered. Ready, set, guess!
Can you guess the country? Tricolor bands of black, red, and green. Black represents the past, red symbolizes bloodshed for independence, and green signifies hope and prosperity. I belong to a country famous for its rugged mountains and ancient history. Afghanistan. Can you guess the country? Bicolor of red over black. Red represents bravery, strength, and valor. Black symbolizes mourning for those who died fighting for freedom and independence. I belong to a country famous for its bunkers and rich cultural heritage. Albania. Can you guess the country? Bicolor of green over white. Green represents Islam, nature, and hope for the future. White symbolizes purity, peace, and the coast of Barbary. I belong to a country famous for its Sahara Desert and ancient Roman ruins. Algeria. Can you guess the country? Tricolor bands of blue, yellow, and red. Blue symbolizes the sky, yellow represents the sun, and red signifies the country's independence and freedom. I belong to a country famous for its ski resorts and duty-free shopping. Andorra. Can you guess the country? Bicolor of red over black. Red represents the blood shed by Angolans in their struggle for independence. Black symbolizes Africa and freedom. I belong to a country famous for its wildlife and natural resources. Angola. Can you guess the country? Tricolor bands of red, white, and blue. Red represents the energy of the people, white symbolizes the sand and sea, and blue signifies hope and the Caribbean Sea. I belong to a country famous for its stunning beaches and sailing regattas. Antigua and Barbuda. Can you guess the country? Tricolor bands of light blue, white, and light blue. Light blue represents the sky, white symbolizes peace and honesty, and light blue signifies the Rio de la Plata and the Atlantic Ocean. I belong to a country famous for its tango, beef, and Patagonian landscapes. Argentina. Can you guess the country? Tricolor bands of red, blue, and orange. Red symbolizes the blood of Armenian soldiers, blue represents the Armenian skies, and orange signifies the fertile lands of the country. I belong to a country famous for its ancient monasteries and delicious cuisine. Armenia. Can you guess the country? Blue field with the Union Jack and 6 white stars. Blue represents loyalty and fidelity. The Union Jack symbolizes Australia's historical ties to the United Kingdom. The stars represent the Southern Cross constellation. I belong to a country famous for its kangaroos, koalas, and the outback. Australia. Can you guess the country? Tricolor bands of red and white. Red symbolizes valor and bloodshed, while white represents peace and honesty. I belong to a country famous for its classical music, alpine landscapes, and skiing. Austria. Can you guess the country? Tricolor bands of blue, red, and green. Blue represents the Turkic heritage, red symbolizes progress and European influence, and green signifies Islam and the country's relationship with the Islamic world. I belong to a country famous for its oil reserves and the Caspian Sea. Azerbaijan. Can you guess the country? Tricolor bands of aquamarine, gold, and aquamarine. Aquamarine represents the surrounding ocean, gold symbolizes the sandy beaches and sun, and aquamarine signifies the sky. I belong to a country famous for its clear waters, vibrant culture, and Junkanoo festival. Bahamas. Can you guess the country? Bicolor of white over red. White symbolizes peace and honesty, while red represents the Kharijite sect of Islam. I belong to a country famous for its pearls and Formula One Grand Prix circuit. Bahrain. Can you guess the country? Tricolor bands of green, red, and green. Green symbolizes the lushness of the land, red represents the bloodshed for independence, and green signifies the country's future prosperity. I belong to a country famous for its Bengal tigers and the Ganges Delta. Bangladesh. Can you guess the country? Tricolor bands of ultramarine, gold, and ultramarine. Ultramarine symbolizes the sea and sky, gold represents the sandy beaches and the golden sunshine, and ultramarine signifies the people's strength and unity. I belong to a country famous for its rum, cricket, and vibrant festivals. Barbados. Can you guess the country? Bicolor of red over green. Red represents the courage and sacrifice of the people, while green symbolizes the country's forests and fields. I belong to a country famous for its primeval forests and Soviet-era architecture. Belarus. Can you guess the country? Tricolor bands of black, yellow, and red. Black represents the country's difficult past, yellow symbolizes the wealth and resources of the nation, and red signifies the bloodshed for independence. I belong to a country famous for its waffles, chocolates, and medieval cities. Belgium. Can you guess the country? Bicolor of royal blue over white. Royal blue symbolizes the Caribbean Sea and the sky, while white represents peace and the yearning for independence. I belong to a country famous for its Mayan ruins and barrier reef. Belize. Can you guess the country? Tricolor bands of green, yellow, and red. Green represents hope and revival, yellow symbolizes the country's wealth and the savannas of the north, and red signifies the courage and sacrifice of the people. I belong to a country famous for its voodoo culture and the kingdom of Dahomey. Benin. Can you guess the country? Tricolor bands of saffron, white, and maroon. Saffron represents Buddhism and spiritual purity, white symbolizes peace and the purity of the Drukpa lineage, and maroon signifies the warrior spirit and the Himalayas. I belong to a country famous for its gross national happiness and the Tiger's Nest Monastery. Bhutan. Can you guess the country? Tricolor bands of red, yellow, and green. Red represents the bloodshed for independence, yellow symbolizes the country's wealth and resources, and green signifies the hope and fertility of the land. I belong to a country famous for its high-altitude landscapes and indigenous cultures. Bolivia. Can you guess the country? Tricolor bands of blue and yellow with a triangle of stars. Blue symbolizes the country's aspirations and the sky. Yellow represents the flag of Europe, and the stars symbolize unity and harmony among the country's three constituent peoples. I belong to a country famous for its multicultural heritage and medieval castles. Bosnia and Herzegovina. Can you guess the country? Bicolor of blue over black. Blue represents water and the sky, while black symbolizes the harmony between people and nature. I belong to a country famous for its wildlife safaris and the Okavango Delta. Botswana. Can you guess the country? Green field with a yellow diamond and blue globe. Green symbolizes the country's forests, yellow represents its wealth, and blue signifies the sky. I belong to a country famous for its carnival and the Amazon rainforest. Brazil. Can you guess the country? Yellow field with diagonal bands of white and black. Yellow represents the Sultan of Brunei, white symbolizes purity and peace, and black signifies the country's protection and independence. I belong to a country famous for its oil wealth and the world's largest floating village. Brunei. Can you guess the country? Tricolor bands of white, green, and red. White symbolizes peace and freedom, green represents the fertile land and hope, and red signifies the courage and sacrifice of the people. I belong to a country famous for its rose oil and Thracian treasures. Bulgaria. Can you guess the country? Tricolor bands of red, green, and yellow. Red symbolizes the revolution and the blood of martyrs, green represents the country's lush vegetation, and yellow signifies the mineral wealth of Burkina Faso. I belong to a country famous for its traditional music and the ruins of Laura Penny. Burkina Faso. Can you guess the country? Tricolor bands of white, red, and green. White symbolizes peace, red represents the struggle for independence, and green signifies hope and the country's fertile lands. I belong to a country famous for its drumming rituals and the source of the Nile. Burundi. Can you guess the country? Tricolor bands of blue, white, and red. Blue represents the ocean, white symbolizes peace, and red signifies the struggle for independence. I belong to a country famous for its Creole music and colorful houses. Cabo Verde. Can you guess the country? Tricolor bands of blue, red, and white. Blue represents freedom and cooperation, red symbolizes the nation's patriotism, and white signifies the purity and peace of the country. I belong to a country famous for its Angkor Wat temple complex and Khmer cuisine. Cambodia. Can you guess the country? Bicolor of green over red. Green symbolizes hope and the forests of the south, while red represents unity and the sacrifices of the independence struggle. I belong to a country famous for its diverse cultures and Mount Cameroon. Cameroon. Can you guess the country? Bicolor of red over white. Red symbolizes sacrifice and valor, while white represents peace and honesty. I belong to a country famous for its maple syrup and the Rocky Mountains. Canada. Can you guess the country? Vertical tricolor of blue, white, and green. Blue symbolizes freedom and the sky, white represents peace and dignity, and green signifies hope and faith in the future. I belong to a country famous for its national parks and diamond mines. Central African Republic. Can you guess the country? Tricolor bands of blue, yellow, and red. Blue represents the sky and hope, Yellow symbolizes the desert and the northern part of the country, and red signifies the bloodshed for independence and the sun. I belong to a country famous for its diverse landscapes and rich cultural heritage. Chad. Can you guess the country? Bicolor of white over red. White symbolizes the snow of the Andes and the country's peace, while red represents the bloodshed for independence and the nation's courage. I belong to a country famous for its Atacama Desert and Easter Island. Chile. Can you guess the country? Red field with 5 yellow stars. Red represents the communist revolution and the bloodshed by martyrs, while the 5 stars represent the unity of the Chinese people under the leadership of the Communist Party. I belong to a country famous for its Great Wall and the Forbidden City. China. Can you guess the country? Tricolor bands of yellow, blue, and red. Yellow represents the nation's wealth and the sun, blue symbolizes the seas and rivers that surround Colombia, and red signifies the blood spilled for independence. I belong to a country famous for its coffee and emerald mines. Colombia. Can you guess the country? Tricolor bands of yellow, white, and red. Yellow symbolizes the island's natural resources, white represents peace and the Arab culture, and red signifies the bloodshed for independence. I belong to a country famous for its volcanic islands and vanilla production. Comoros. Can you guess the country? Diagonal bands of green, yellow, and red. Green symbolizes agriculture and forests, yellow represents the friendship of the people, and red signifies the bloodshed for independence. I belong to a country famous for its rainforests and vibrant music. Congo. Can you guess the country? Tricolor bands of blue, white, and red. Blue represents the sky, white symbolizes peace, and red signifies the bloodshed for freedom. I belong to a country famous for its biodiversity and ecotourism. Costa Rica. Can you guess the country? Tricolor bands of red, white, and blue. Red represents the bloodshed for independence, white symbolizes peace and unity, and blue signifies the Adriatic Sea. I belong to a country famous for its stunning coastline and medieval architecture. Croatia. Can you guess the country? Bicolor of blue over white. Blue represents the sea and the sky, while white symbolizes purity and peace. I belong to a country famous for its cigars and vintage cars. Cuba. Can you guess the country? Bicolor of white over red. White represents peace and the separation of communities, while red symbolizes the bloodshed for independence. I belong to a country famous for its beaches and archaeological sites. Cyprus. Can you guess the country? Bicolor of white over red. White represents peace and honesty, while red symbolizes the bloodshed for independence. I belong to a country famous for its castles and beer. Czech Republic. Can you guess the country? Diagonal bands of blue, red, and yellow. Blue represents peace and hope, red symbolizes the struggle for independence, and yellow signifies the country's wealth and prosperity. I belong to a country famous for its rainforests and diverse wildlife. Democratic Republic of the Congo. Can you guess the country? Red field with a white Scandinavian cross. Red represents courage and strength, while the white cross symbolizes Christianity and purity. Belong to a country famous for its fairy tales and the Little Mermaid statue. Denmark. Can you guess the country? Bicolor of light blue over white. Light blue represents the sea and the sky, while white symbolizes peace and harmony. I belong to a country famous for its salt lakes and Afar Depression. Djibouti. Can you guess the country? Tricolor bands of yellow, black, and white. Yellow symbolizes the sunshine and the indigenous people, black represents the rich soil, and white signifies the country's rivers and waterfalls. I belong to a country famous for its rainforests and hot springs. Dominica. Can you guess the country? Tricolor bands of blue, white, and red. Blue represents liberty, white symbolizes salvation, and red signifies the blood of heroes shed for the nation's independence. I belong to a country famous for its beaches and merengue music. Dominican Republic. Can you guess the country? Bicolor of red over black. Red symbolizes the struggle for independence, while black represents the colonial history and the Melanesian people. I belong to a country famous for its coffee and vibrant coral reefs. East Timor. Can you guess the country? Tricolor bands of yellow, blue, and red. Yellow represents the abundance of crops and resources, blue symbolizes the sky and the sea, and red signifies the blood shed for independence. I belong to a country famous for its biodiversity and the Galapagos Islands. Ecuador.
Thanks a ton for watching. If you had fun, a little click on the like button would be like icing on the cake. And hey, why not subscribe? You'll get more videos to tickle your funny bone. See you in the next one.